Stacey, good morning. How are ya?
Good morning, guys. I'll take home games in this weather any day of the week. Any day of the week.
Well, I'm trying to remember, but doesn't DJ Moore just score touchdowns in front of you for a living? Every time I look at the overview, it's like you're standing there as that guy's running in the end zone.
Yeah, it's really cool. You're happy for a guy like DJ Moore to have his moments to shine, right? In the playoffs and down the stretch this season. I just know that Ben has always kind of seen him as their Deebo Samuel, and he's been sort of gadgety throughout the season, but it's the big plays, the rehearsed plays that we see, and it was really cool. You look at a screenplay early in the game, Ben goes back to it because they think it'll work at the end of the game. So just really good schematically by Ben Johnson. And once again, the fact that Chicago rattles off 25 points, talking to Packers people afterwards, just absolutely in shock. And the lesson learned is, and I said this last week, and I said this the week previous, and I said it the week previous to that, if you take your foot off the gas pedal against the Chicago Bears, it is a basketball game. And you guys know, you're down 20 in a game against shooters, they can claw back into it with a few threes. And that's what these teams can do. That's what they have the capability of doing. You're talking about two quarterbacks, first overall picks in Matthew Stafford and Caleb Williams, that both have the ability in the fourth quarter to do those things. And so this will have to be Chicago's best performance defensively in this game, obviously.
Experience always matters in the postseason, but I wonder how you would compare the way past experience from the Rams, who have been on a Super Bowl run successfully with Stafford and McVay, versus the recent experiences of the Bears in winning 7 games in the final 2 minutes when they have trailed. So you have trust in Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson. If this game is close, how does experience factor in?
Well, we talked about this, David, last week, right? We had this discussion last week on the radio, and I think now, and I said last week, if you're playing Matthew Stafford, it does make a difference, and I do believe that. And it's not just because he's 6-2 with Sean McVay in the playoffs and has won a Super Bowl. When you look at the numbers, Devontae Adams, for instance, since he entered the league, nobody has more receiving touchdowns in the playoffs than Devontae Adams. Nobody averages more receiving yards in 4 games than Puka Nacua. He's averaging about 108 in the playoffs in his career. So, and you go back and you look historically at that Super Bowl run and how brilliant they were, and how great Cooper Kupp was. So Sean McVay is, when push comes to shove, these guys rise to the occasion. Matthew Stafford, I found an interesting nugget, actually. Kurt Warner, obviously, you guys, he does some stuff with the score, and he's a friend of mine, and I work with him. Only Kurt Warner has averaged more pass yards per game in the playoffs than Matthew Stafford. So my point is, Stafford averages 304, and this is going to be a shootout to me. And Ben Johnson, I think, if you're a Bears fan, you're fortunate because Ben wants to outscore you. You go into any press conference that they don't win a game, he'll be pissed off about lack of points scored because they didn't score more than the opponent. And so this could very well be a shootout. We will see. But it's going to be fascinating to see how this Bears defense handles Matthew Stafford on Sunday.
Yeah, I'm very curious about that. Listen, the playoffs are such that every opponent should be better than the previous one, and of course the familiarity that the Bears had with the Green Bay Packers long gone, and this is a different team, and Stafford was probably the MVP of the league this year, and he's coming in with a couple of great receivers, and it's going to be hard just to outscore them. You're going to have to play defense. You got to figure out a way to stop them from scoring. I'm not sure how you do that with the Bears defense.
Well, and Matthew Stafford, to your point, for everybody, he put everybody on notice once again. He had 46 touchdowns in the regular season. He had nearly 5,000 passing yards in the regular season. His numbers were insane. And his relationship at this point with Sean McVay is just brilliant. I mean, it's really special. And you're right. I just, the Bears take the ball away. Now, they didn't take it away from Green Bay, but I just really felt that Matt LaFleur, obviously Dennis Allen made some really strategic changes, and they got better push in the second half defensively up front. But you can't take your foot off the gas, and I don't see Sean McVay as somebody who's going to do that on Sunday, which is why I think if you're the Bears, you've got to score in the first half, and you've got to score a ton of points.
What makes anybody think that the Bears have the defensive backs to stop Puka Nacua or Devontae Adams? I know they can, but it's a fair question given what we last saw from the Bears secondary. And I think if you're looking for an area where the Rams can exploit the Bears, it would be with those mismatches.
Yeah, I mean, Kyler Gordon was just coming back last week. I think we saw that he wasn't obviously up to his 100% potential, right, on a few of those plays in the open field. So hopefully for the Bears, like he has, a week under his belt now, he can be used strategically by Dennis Allen. But this is a tall order. Now, the Rams have given up some points defensively. I think in large part, a part of that is they were the number one scoring offense in football. They score a lot of points. And so what does the other team do against the best scoring offense in football when they're down? They throw the ball. So by the nature of the way the games have gone, that they've given up some points, I think, down the stretch towards the end of this season. But make no mistake about it. I mean, they are one of two teams defensively, the Rams, to have three players with 50 or more pressures in 2025. They're able to rush with their front, and their front is really good. And I think we'll probably hear Ben Johnson talk about it a little bit this week. But when you talk about Fisk and you talk about Turner and Byron Young, who I'm going to have on the phone this afternoon, they have some Jared Verse. They have really good pressure up front. They were one of the top QB pressure teams in the league. They pressured roughly 38% of the time this past season in the regular season. Although I would say this, I don't know if you guys went back and listened to Sean McVay on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
He spoke really early on Monday morning. I love covering Sean McVay. It's just a dream. The way he describes things, the way that he spoke about Caleb Williams was better than anybody this season. And the fact that he alluded to the notion that he has studied Ben Johnson, and a very interesting storyline that, his former quarterback, Jared Goff, goes to play in Detroit, and Ben coaches him to the best year of his career and is doing some of the same foundational principles with Caleb, although he has adjusted, obviously, to the athleticism of Caleb Williams. So the respect that McVay has for not only Ben Johnson, but Caleb Williams. I mean, he literally said on Monday that this is the reason the Bears are winning games, this player. That's how special he sees Caleb Williams. So I have to think what they're doing defensively in Los Angeles with Chris Shula and, sitting down. Sean McVay will be in those meetings. What are we going to do with this young man? You have to be very strategic how you rush Caleb Williams. It's a luxury to have him in the pocket if you're Ben Johnson. And I had this conversation last week with Quay Walker. You can't rush with five all the time. You just can't do it because Caleb is just too elusive, and now you lose a body in coverage. So it's a good position to be in if you're Chicago, but certainly want to see some of the opportunities in Chicago's offense come to life. They were one of the most explosive offenses in the NFL this season, but so were the Rams. So this is the reason this game is on Sunday night is because you have these two dynamic quarterbacks, albeit a huge gap in age difference.
Yeah, I think that it's fascinating to watch what's happened with Caleb Williams, not just what's happened late in games, but winning that playoff game and the way that they won it. he's taken on. It seems like the Bears fan base is growing. It seems like there are a lot of Caleb Williams fans now, people interested in how he does it, what they're doing. There are a lot of people. I mean, you guys must get great ratings when these guys are on because the games are insane. They're so dumb. They're so crazy the way they turn out. And you look at
They're so dumb.
It's dumb. It's dumb that they can win that game. That's absurd. It doesn't make logical sense. It's whoever wrote this script that, okay, sure. Yeah, I believe you. It's like a Disney movie on steroids, how they finish and end these games. But it's been going on now, and there is this magical element to it. It's like the guy is otherworldly at various points in the game.
Did you guys go get your Caleb Williams tattoos yet?
No.
No.
We've managed to avoid
that's
that.
surprising because I think everybody in Chicago is. So.
We'll wait a little bit on that.
It's crazy, though. It really is just an absurdity.
A little strange.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little strange to go get a tattoo of any athlete, but I won't judge you. It is. It's pretty wild. And again, listen to Sean McVay. People, go back and listen to his press conference on Monday. I mean, the way that he spoke about this guy, to call him the difference. He said he's going to be a nightmare to defend. He said that they have a belief they can find ways to finish, and that's why they're in this situation. It's why they get back in games because of him, he said. He's an explosive play waiting to happen. I mean, give the guy his flowers. I mean, when I spoke to somebody with Green Bay last week, and I said, so you guys call him Houdini, huh? Because Rashawn Gary told me a few weeks ago they call Caleb Williams Houdini in Green Bay. And I even think Jeff Hafley mentioned that in a press conference. And the individual that I spoke to said, no, I'm not going that far. We're not going that far with him. Probably you should, okay? Like, probably you should realize that this young man has given life to not just an entire team. I mean, when I hear a player in DJ Moore tell me he's the light on the field, and when I have Kevin Byard tell me we call him the Iceman for a reason, and then you look at people getting his tattoo, I mean, like, at a certain point, you got to start believing in Caleb Williams. I mean, let's not be silly about it. I mean, he's really special. And it sure is making the decision to bring in Ben Johnson to pair with him really special. You know, what's interesting about these two coaches is when Sean McVay took over the Rams, they were the worst offensive team in the National Football League back in 2017, I believe it was. They were the worst. And when the Bears got Ben Johnson, they were one of the worst, if not the worst, offensive team in the NFL. Mm-hmm. And what both coaches have done is absolutely spectacular.
Stacey, when you look at the elements and the weather expected on Sunday night, I'm very curious, not just to see what coat you bring out next, but I also think, very cool one, by the way, that the effect it will have on Matthew Stafford, who isn't statistically very good in those conditions. And we all have seen the numbers and we all can have the expectation. But realistically, what difference will it make with the Bears being acclimated to what they're going to be playing in and the Rams not?
I do think that it matters to a degree just in terms of getting used to it in game, because it is, I mean, it's going to be much colder than it was last weekend. I don't know how much it will snow. I walked out to a blizzard this morning. It's bipolar. The weather is bipolar, and I say that very lovingly in Chicago. And but I also know that Matthew Stafford, this will be, I believe, his 23rd game versus Chicago in his career. Now, his first in the playoffs against the Bears, but he's well aware of what it's like coming to Soldier Field. So it's not like he's not unfamiliar with the footing, the environment. You know what I mean? Like and the same with Devontae Adams. And so I do, though, think, you know, you have to When you get to play in Los Angeles all the time, or in a dome for that matter, it is different, and it is something that you have to adjust to in game. And so I think, like, how quickly can they adjust in game will be the question for me.
We talk about the weather all the time. We talk about advantage bears, and I get it. I understand when you're living in a warm climate and your blood hasn't really coagulated like ours has. They always claim that the Eastern Conference played a different style of basketball, a lot more physical, because the West was showtime because they could all run because they were all outside and living by the swimming pool. How just looking out the window, you got to wonder, this has to have some kind of impact. This has to be, if it's 16 degrees, that's got to, somebody is going to cower in this.
Yeah, and again, I don't disparage it, Mully. Absolutely not. I mean, it's if you grew up in this sort of thing, you're used to it. But like, I don't. Isn't Matthew Stafford from the South?
Yeah, Georgia.
Texas.
Yeah.
No, he
or Texas, but he went to Georgia.
Georgia.
No, he
grew up
in
Texas.
Up in Dallas, but he went to Georgia. Okay.
Either way, it's it is an adjustment, and I think if you're a Chicago Bear, you welcome it, and Bears fans will welcome it. But it's also the last game, so it is going to continue to dip in the temperature area. But these teams are prepared. They're going to travel with a ton of cold weather gear, and I just think it's going to be a really fantastic game. Chicago makes it fantastic by the nature of the way they have closed things out this season. But, I think Matthew Stafford. Now, there's been a lot of questions, guys, about his sprained index finger on his throwing hand. If it is just a sprain, because McVay, again, in his 30-minute press conference on Monday, he said three different times it's just a sprain. He's going to be fine. If it's, in effect, a sprain, but it is his index finger, so the position on a football with the index finger is really critical, right? So does the weather impact that? You shoot it up, you medicinally address it, and he goes out, and I don't see it being an issue. If, in fact, it is a sprain. And I don't think, you would purposely say it out loud and go on the record if it was something more concerning. I don't think it would be spoken of to that degree. So it seems to be just a sprain, and I don't foresee it being an issue for Matthew Stafford on Sunday night.
Great stuff, Stacey. Look forward to seeing you on Sunday.
Yep. You guys have a great week. We'll see you then.